The stars looked cold and distant through the window of the Terran ship New Sol. Captain Dongwoo Kim stood on the bridge, watching the space station grow larger as they got closer. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. This was the day humans would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, we're almost there," said his pilot. The young woman's voice was calm, but Kim could hear she was nervous too. Kim nodded. He had been a ship captain for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Behind him, his team was getting ready for the most important meeting in human history. Dr. Haewon Park checked her equipment one more time. She was the team's expert on alien life. Her job was to study the aliens and help everyone understand each other. She had read every report about these creatures called the Velthari, but reading about aliens and meeting them were very different things. "The translation device is working fine," she told Kim. "But remember, we might not understand everything they say or do." Commander Ji-hoon Lee stood near the door, watching everything. He was in charge of keeping the team safe. His military training told him to be ready for anything. The aliens might be friendly, but Lee didn't trust anyone he hadn't met before. Dr. So-young Choi was busy with her computer, checking the translation programs. She spoke 12 human languages and had learned some Velthari words from their radio messages. But alien languages were much harder than human ones. The most unusual member of the team was Chef Min Ho-yoon. Most people thought it was strange to bring a cook to meet aliens. But the government wanted to show human culture, and food was a big part of that. Min Ho had cooked for presidents and kings, but he had never cooked for aliens before. "I wonder what they eat," Min Ho said to himself, looking through the window at the space station. The space station was huge and strange. It looked like a giant metal flower, with many arms reaching out in different directions. Lights blinked on and off across its surface. Ships from many different worlds were docked there, but the biggest ships belonged to the Velthari. "They built this place," Kim said to his team. "The Velthari Empire controls this whole part of space. They invited us here to talk about joining their empire." The words sounded normal, but everyone knew what they really meant. The Velthari didn't invite species to join them. They told species to join them or face war. Humans were new to space travel, and they were not strong enough to fight an empire. The New Sol docked at the station with a soft bump. Kim felt his stomach twist with nervousness. Everything humans had worked for in space depended on the next few hours. "Remember," he told his team, "we're here to make friends. Be polite, be respectful, and don't do anything that might make them angry." The airlock opened with a hiss. The air that came in smelled strange, like metal and something else Kim couldn't identify. The gravity felt different too, a little heavier than on Earth. A group of aliens was waiting for them. Kim had seen pictures, but seeing the Velthari in person was shocking. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with smooth green skin that looked like it was made of scales. Their faces were long and narrow, with big yellow eyes that didn't blink much. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but their movements were smooth and quick, like snakes. The leader stepped forward. He wore fancy clothes made of shiny metal and strange fabrics. When he spoke, his voice was deep and made a hissing sound. "I am High Arbiter Velthorax of the Velthari Empire," the translation device said in a mechanical voice. "You are the humans from the small world called Earth." Kim stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Captain Dongwoo Kim. We are honored to meet you." Velthorax looked at Kim for a long moment with those big yellow eyes. "You will come with us. We have prepared a meeting place." The aliens led them through the station. The hallways were very tall and wide, built for people much bigger than humans. Strange lights hung from the ceiling, and the walls were covered with pictures that moved and changed colors. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans as they walked past. "They're all looking at us," whispered Dr. Park. "We're probably the first humans they've ever seen," Kim whispered back. The meeting room was enormous. The table was made of black stone and was so big that 50 people could sit around it. The chairs were too tall for humans, but smaller chairs had been brought in for them. 2 other Velthari were already in the room. One wore a long robe covered with strange symbols. The other was bigger than the rest, with scars on his arms and face. "This is Toxin Master Kelthun," Belthorax said, pointing to the one in the robe. "And this is Warcast Zurtek." The big alien nodded but said nothing. Kim introduced his team. The aliens listened, but didn't seem very interested in the humans' names or jobs. "We will begin with the traditional ceremony," Belthorax announced. "This is how the Velthari Empire welcomes new species." Servants brought in a large table covered with food and drinks. The food looked strange, some of it was still moving, but it was the drinks that caught everyone's attention. They were served in beautiful cups made of crystal, and the liquid inside was bright blue and seemed to glow. "This is Kethmiran," Belthorax said, picking up one of the cups. "It is our most sacred drink. We share it only with those who might become our friends." The aliens watched as the humans picked up their cups. The liquid inside smelled sweet, but there was something else underneath, something sharp and bitter. "In our culture," Belthorax continued, "sharing Kethmiran is the highest honor. It shows trust and friendship between species." Kim looked at his team. This was clearly important to the aliens. He didn't want to make a mistake on their first meeting. "We are honored," Kim said, lifting his cup, "to friendship between our species." The other humans lifted their cups too. The aliens watched them carefully, their yellow eyes not blinking. "To friendship," Kim said again, and drank the entire cup. The liquid was sweet at first, but then it burned his throat. It tasted like medicine mixed with spices he had never tried before. His team drank theirs too, making faces at the strange taste. The aliens sat very still, watching and waiting. "That's interesting," said Dr. Park, putting down her empty cup. "What's in it?" "It has a very unique flavor," added Chef Minho. "I've never tasted anything like it. Is it made from plants?" The aliens looked at each other. Kim noticed that Toxin Master Kelthun seemed surprised. "You like the taste?" Belthorax asked. "It's different," Kim said politely. "But different can be good. We have many different drinks on Earth, too." Minho leaned forward, interested. "The spice blend is really complex. How do you prepare it? Do you ferment it or is it distilled?" The alien stared at him. Then they stared at all the humans who were sitting normally and talking about the drink like it was tea. Something was wrong. Kim could see it in the aliens' faces. They had expected something different to happen. "Is there more?" Dr. Choi asked. "It's actually quite warming. I feel energized." Belthorax's mouth opened slightly. Behind him, Kelthun whispered, something in their language that the translation device didn't pick up. The room fell silent. The only sound was the soft hum of the space station's machines. Kim realized that whatever they had just drunk, it wasn't just a traditional welcome drink. The aliens' shocked expressions told him that something very important had just happened. Something the aliens hadn't expected. But what? The silence in the room stretched like a tight rope. High Arbiter Belthorax stared at the humans with his big yellow eyes. His mouth was still open in shock. Next to him, Toxin Master Kelthun whispered urgent words in the Velthari language. "Captain." Kim noticed that Dr. Park was starting to sweat. Her face was getting red and she was breathing faster. But instead of looking sick or scared, she looked excited. "Wow," Hayone said, wiping her face with her sleeve. "This is really interesting. I can feel my heart beating faster and my skin feels warm. It's like drinking strong coffee, but different." Commander Lee rolled his shoulders and stretched his dorsum. "Yeah, I feel it too. It's like the feeling you get after a good workout. My whole body feels alive." Chef Minho was still thinking about the drink. "The burning feeling reminds me of really spicy food back home. You know, like when you eat too much hot pepper and your mouth burns, but in a good way." Dr. Choi nodded. "It's warming me up from the inside, like drinking hot ginseng tea on a cold winter day." The aliens looked at each other with growing alarm. Belthorax's hands were shaking slightly. Warcast Zurthek moved closer to his leader, his big hands ready to fight if needed. "You feel warm?" Belthorax asked slowly. "Oh yes," Kim replied. "Is that normal? Does everyone feel this way when they drink Kethmiran?" Kelthun stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. He spoke rapidly to Velthorax in their own language. The translation device could only catch a few words. Impossible, lethal dose, and still alive. "Excuse me," Velthorax said, his voice tight. "We must discuss something. Please eat the food we have prepared. We will return shortly." The three aliens left the room quickly, almost running. The door closed behind them with a heavy sound. The humans looked at each other in confusion. "That was weird," Lee said. "Did we do something wrong?" "I don't think so," Kim replied. "Maybe it's normal in their culture to leave guests alone to eat." Dr. Park was still sweating, but she didn't look sick. She looked curious. "I should take some measurements," she said, pulling out a small medical device. "This reaction is really interesting from a biological standpoint." She checked her pulse and temperature. "My heart rate is up by about 20%, and my body temperature is slightly higher. But I feel good. Really good, actually." Minho picked up his empty cup and smelled it. "There's definitely something spicy in here, maybe something like capsaicin. That's what makes peppers hot." "Capsaicin?" Park asked. "That would explain the warming sensation and increased heart rate. Humans have eaten spicy food for thousands of years. Our bodies are used to it." Outside the room, they could hear the aliens talking loudly. Their voices sounded upset and confused. "Should we be worried?" Choi asked. Kim thought for a moment. "I don't think they're angry at us. They seem more surprised. Maybe humans react differently to their drink than other species do." Lee stood up and walked to the door. He couldn't understand the alien language, but he could tell they were having an argument. They definitely weren't expecting this reaction from us. Meanwhile, in the hallway, the three Velthari were having a crisis meeting. "This is impossible," Kelthun hissed. "I prepared the Kethmeran myself. It was pure and strong, enough to kill a dozen warriors." "Then how are they still alive?" Velthorax demanded. "And not just alive, they seem to enjoy it." "Maybe they have some kind of advanced medicine," Zurthek suggested. "Some way to fight poison that we don't know about." Kelthun shook his head. "No medicine works that fast. And they're showing all the signs of Kethmeran poisoning. The sweating, the red skin, the fast breathing. But they describe it as pleasant." "The small female with the measuring device," Velthorax said. "She acted like a scientist studying something interesting, not like someone dying of poison." "And the male who asked about preparation methods," Kelthun added. "He talked about it like it was food." Back in the meeting room, the humans were trying the alien food. Most of it was strange, but some of it was actually tasty. "This purple stuff isn't bad," Minho said. "It tastes a bit like mushrooms." Werke was still monitoring her body's response to the drink. "The effects are definitely getting stronger, but I feel great. It's like my whole system is energized." "You know what this reminds me of?" Lee said. "Remember in military training when we had to drink that awful energy drink? The one that tasted like medicine but made you feel like you could run forever? Or like eating really hot peppers," Choi added. "Remember when we went to that Korean restaurant in Seoul? The one where they challenged you to eat their spiciest dish?" Kim laughed. "Oh, that place. I thought I was going to die, but afterwards I felt amazing, like I had conquered something." "Exactly," Park said excitedly. "Capsaicin triggers the release of endorphins. That's why people get addicted to spicy food. Your body thinks you're in pain, so it releases natural painkillers that make you feel good." The door opened and the aliens came back in. They walked slowly, watching the humans carefully. Velthorax looked like he had seen a ghost. How do you feel?" he asked. "Great," Kim said honestly. "That drink really wakes you up. Is it served at all your meals?" "Do you have more?" Minho asked hopefully. "I'd love to study the recipe. The flavor profile is really complex." Kelthun made a choking sound. "More? You want more?" "Well, if it's not too much trouble," Park said. "I'm curious about the long-term effects. For scientific purposes, you understand." The aliens stared at them in horror. "Long-term effects?" Velthorax repeated weakly. You know, how long the energy boost lasts, whether there are any side effects, Park explained. I'm a xenobiologist, so I'm interested in how different species react to the same substances. Lee stretched again, rolling his shoulders. I have to say, I feel better than I have in weeks. Really alert and energized. It's interesting how different species develop different tolerances, Choi added thoughtfully. Humans have been eating and drinking challenging things for so long that our bodies have adapted. Challenging things? Zurthek asked, speaking for the first time. Oh, you know, Minho said casually. Spicy food, fermented drinks, aged cheese that smells terrible, but tastes great. Humans will eat almost anything if it tastes good or makes them feel good. We have this drink called soju back home, Lee said. It's so strong it can kill you if you drink too much, but people love it anyway. And kimchi, Choi added. It's fermented vegetables that smell awful when it's fresh, but we eat it with almost every meal. The aliens looked at each other with growing understanding and horror. You regularly consume poisons? Velthorax asked carefully. Poisons? Kim laughed. No, just strong flavors. Things that give you a kick, you know? Life's too short for bland food and weak drinks. Park wiped more sweat from her face, still smiling. Although I have to admit, your Kethmiran is stronger than anything we have on Earth. What exactly is in it? Kelthun's hands were shaking. It's made from the venom of the death serpent of Velthar Prime. The humans looked interested rather than frightened. Venom? Minho said excitedly. That's fascinating. How do you process it? Do you dilute it or ferment it somehow? We don't process it, Kelthun whispered. We serve it pure. There was a moment of silence as this information sank in. Pure snake venom, Park said slowly. And we just drank it like wine. And asked for seconds, Lee added. The aliens looked like they were about to faint. This explains so much, Kim said, finally understanding why the aliens had been acting so strange. You weren't trying to welcome us, were you? The truth hung in the air like smoke. Captain Kim stared at High Arbiter Velthorax, and the aliens stared back. Neither spoke for a long moment. You tried to poison us, Kim said quietly. It wasn't a question. Velthorax's yellow eyes looked away. It is our way. The Kethmaran ceremony tests worthiness. Those who survive earn respect. Those who don't die, Commander Lee finished, his voice hard. Yes, Velthorax admitted. Dr. Park laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. So when you said it was your most sacred drink, you meant it literally. Sacred because it kills people. Toxin Master Kelthun stepped forward. Every species we have met dies within 1 hour. You have consumed enough venom to kill 50 of our strongest warriors. Yet you sit here asking for more. Chef Minho shook his head in amazement. And I was going to ask you for the recipe. The room fell silent again. The humans looked at each other, processing what they had learned. The aliens watched them nervously, not sure what would happen next. Well, Kim said finally, this is awkward. Dr. Choi cleared her throat. Perhaps we should continue with the cultural exchange anyway, since we're all still alive. Cultural exchange? Warcast Zurthek growled. You should be dead. But we're not, Park pointed out reasonably. So maybe we can learn from this experience. Velthorax looked confused. You're not angry? We tried to kill you. Kim thought about this carefully. In your culture, this is normal, right? It's how you meet new species? Yes, but... And you probably thought we would have some kind of protection or antidote ready, right? Since we're advanced enough for space. Travel? Well, yes. So really, this is just a big misunderstanding, Kim concluded. You did what your culture expects, and we survived because of how our bodies work. No harm done. Lee looked at his captain like he was crazy. No harm done, they tried to poison us. But it didn't work, Kim said calmly. And now we know something interesting about both our species. The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. This was not how poisoning ceremonies usually went. I have an idea, Minho said suddenly. Since you shared your traditional drink with us, maybe we should share some of our traditional food with you, to return the favor. Food? Kelthun asked suspiciously. Just some dishes from our home planet, Minho said innocently. Nothing dangerous, just normal Korean food. Park caught on to what Minho was planning. A small smile crossed her face. That's a wonderful idea. Cultural exchange through cuisine. I don't know if that's wise, Velthorak said carefully. Oh, it'll be fine, Kim assured him. Minho is an excellent cook. You'll love it. The next morning, Minho had been busy in the station's kitchen. He whistled as he worked, preparing a special meal for their alien hosts. The other humans helped him carry dishes to the meeting room. What exactly are you planning? Lee whispered. Minho grinned. Just some traditional Korean dishes, nothing they can't handle if they're as tough as they think they are. The aliens were already waiting when the humans arrived. They looked nervous, especially after learning that humans were apparently immune to deadly poison. We have prepared a traditional meal from our planet Earth, Kim announced. This is how we show friendship and hospitality in our culture. Minho began setting out dishes. First, we have buldak, fire chicken. It's chicken cooked with our spiciest peppers. The smell hit the aliens immediately. Their eyes began watering and Zurthek took a step backward. What is that odor? Velthorax asked, his voice strained. Gochujang, Minho said proudly. Korean hot pepper paste. This batch is extra strong. We age it for maximum heat. Next came a large bowl of kimchi. The fermented cabbage smelled sour and spicy at the same time. The aliens' sensitive noses wrinkled at the strong aroma. This is kimchi, Park explained. Fermented vegetables. We eat it with almost every meal. Fermented? Kelthun asked weakly. Oh yes, Choi said cheerfully. We let bacteria eat the vegetables for weeks until they're nice and sour. Minho brought out a bottle of clear liquid. And this is soju, traditional Korean alcohol. This bottle is 95% pure alcohol. The alien stared at the bottle like it was a weapon. 95%? Zurthek repeated. The good stuff, Lee said with a grin. Burns going down, but it puts hair on your chest. Finally, Minho unveiled his masterpiece. The smell that came from the covered dish was so strong that all three aliens immediately started coughing. What is that? Velthorax gasped, covering his nose. Hongeo, Minho said proudly. Fermented skate fish. We bury it underground for months until it develops the perfect ammonia flavor. The ammonia smell was overwhelming. It filled the entire room like a toxic cloud. The alien's eyes were streaming with tears. You eat this? Kelthun choked out. It's considered a delicacy, Kim said calmly. Very expensive back home. The smell means it's ready, Minho added helpfully. The stronger the ammonia, the better the taste. Velthorax tried to be polite. This was supposed to be cultural exchange after all. He picked up a small piece of the fire chicken with his eating utensils. The moment it touched his tongue, his mouth burst into flames. The capsaicin hit his system like a bomb. His throat closed up, his eyes flooded with tears, and he made a sound like a dying animal. Water, he gasped. Oh, you don't want water, Park said helpfully. Water makes it worse. Here, try some kimchi. The fermentation helps cool down the spice. Velthorax desperately grabbed some kimchi. The sour fermented taste was so intense that his whole body shuddered. The combination of spice and fermentation was too much for his alien biology. Kelthun, trying to help his leader, took a small sip of soju. The pure alcohol hit his system like acid. He doubled over, coughing and wheezing. Zurthek, the biggest and toughest of the aliens, looked at the fermented fish. The ammonia smell alone was making him dizzy. He tried to take a tiny piece, but the moment it got near his face, he collapsed. Is he okay? Minho asked with concern. I think the ammonia is too strong for their respiratory systems, Park observed, clinically. Interesting. They can create deadly poisons, but they can't handle fermented food. All three aliens were now on the floor, writhing in pain. Velthorax was still gasping for air. Kelthun was making horrible retching sounds. Zurthek wasn't moving at all. "Should we call for medical help?" Choi asked. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed and emergency announcements echoed through the hallways in the Veltari language. "Uh-oh," Lee said. "I think they think we just poisoned their leaders." Through the windows, they could see Veltari warships moving into attack, positions around the station. Soldiers were running through the corridors outside. "This is not good," Kim said, watching the military response unfold. On the floor, Velthorax managed to gasp out a few words between coughs. "Biological weapon attack." "Biological weapon?" Park repeated. "It's just Korean food." But the alarms kept blaring and more ships kept arriving. The Velthari military was mobilizing for war. "They think we just declared war on them," Kim realized. "With kimchi," Minho added weakly. "How do we explain that fermented fish isn't a weapon of mass destruction?" Choi asked. Outside, soldiers were gathering. The humans could hear heavy footsteps in the hallway, getting closer. "I don't think they're going to listen to explanations right now," Lee said, moving toward the door. The footsteps stopped right outside. Someone was shouting orders in the Veltari language. "Okay," Kim said quietly to his team. "When they come through that door, nobody make any sudden moves. And whatever you do, don't offer them any more food." The door burst open. Dozen of armed Velthari soldiers poured into the room, their weapons pointed at the humans. Behind them came a very angry-looking Velthari officer. He looked at his fallen leaders, then at the humans, then at the table full of Korean food. "Surrender, humans," he shouted through his translator. "You are under arrest for biological warfare." Kim raised his hands slowly. "This is all just a big misunderstanding." But as more soldiers surrounded them, and as the three alien leaders continued writhing on the floor, Kim wondered if some misunderstandings were too big to fix. The prison cell was small and cold. Captain Kim sat on a metal bench with his team around him. Through the thick walls, they could hear the sounds of ships moving and soldiers marching. The whole station was preparing for war. "This is not how I thought first contact would go," Dr. Choi said quietly. Commander Lee paced back and forth in the small space. "They think we attacked them with Korean food. How do we explain that?" "The translation system is the problem," Dr. Park said. "They don't have words for spicy or fermented in their language. To them, anything that hurts you is either medicine or poison." Chef Minho sat with his head in his hands. "I just wanted to share our culture. I never meant to hurt anyone. You didn't hurt them," Kim said firmly. "They just can't handle our food. It's not your fault their stomachs are weak." Outside their cell, they could hear Velthari voices arguing. The translation device had been taken away, so they couldn't understand what was being said. But the voices sounded angry and scared. Hours passed. Then the cell door opened with a loud clang. A new Veltari walked in. She was smaller than the others, with lighter green skin and white markings on her face. She wore the clothes of a doctor or scientist. "I am Healer Sithara," she said in careful, slow words. "I need to ask you questions." Kim stood up. "Are Velthorax and the others okay?" "They will live," Sithara said. "But they are very sick. We need to understand what you did to them." "We didn't do anything," Park said. "We just shared our food." Sithara looked confused. "Your food did this?" "Korean food can be strong," Minho said sadly. "But it's not supposed to hurt people. Humans eat it every day." "Every day?" Sithara repeated. "You eat poison every day?" "It's not poison," Park said in frustration. "It's just challenging." Sithara pulled out a small device and pointed it at the humans. It made soft beeping sounds. "Strange," she said, looking at the readings. "Your bodies show signs of toxin exposure, but you are healthy. How is this possible?" Park's eyes lit up. You can see the toxins? Yes. The Kethmiran venom is still in your blood, but your bodies are not fighting it. They are using it. Using it how? Scythara studied her device more carefully. Your bodies have changed the poison into something helpful. Energy, alertness, good feelings. How do you do this? Park sat forward, excited despite their situation. We've been eating spicy and fermented foods for thousands of years. Our bodies learned to handle toxins. Thousands of years? Scythara asked. Humans will eat almost anything, Lee said. If it doesn't kill us, we figure out how to make it taste good. Scythara was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Show me, she said finally. Show you what? Show me how human bodies work with toxins. I need to understand. Park looked at Kim, who nodded. Okay. But I'll need access to your medical equipment. An hour later, Park was in the station's medical lab with Scythara. The other humans were still in the cell, but at least now someone was listening to them. This is incredible, Scythara said, looking at scans of Park's body. Your liver processes toxins 50 times faster than ours. Your stomach acid is strong enough to break down almost anything. And your pain receptors, they turn damage signals into pleasure signals. That's from eating spicy food, Park explained. When you eat hot peppers, your mouth thinks it's burning. So your brain releases chemicals to stop the pain. But those chemicals make you feel good. So humans started eating more spicy food. You trained your bodies to enjoy pain? Not pain. Exactly. Just intensity. Strong flavors, strong sensations. We like things that make us feel alive. Scythara looked at more scans. And this fermentation process? We learned that rotting food could be safe if you control how it rots. Bacteria break down the food in ways that make it safer and sometimes more nutritious. Plus, it tastes good. You eat rotting food on purpose? Cheese, wine, bread, kimchi, soy sauce. Most of our best foods are fermented in some way. Scythara was quiet again, processing this information. Your species survived by eating things that would kill other species. I guess so. Humans are pretty tough. No, Scythara said slowly. Not tough, adaptable. Your bodies learned to survive in environments where food was dangerous, so you made dangerous food safe. Meanwhile, in the main command center of the station, Velthari military leaders were having an emergency meeting. Admiral Korathak stood at the head of a large table, his face grim. The humans have created biological weapons from common food, he announced. This changes everything. Should we destroy their planet? Asked General Morthan. Wait, came a weak voice from the medical bay. High Arbiter Velthorax was connected to medical machines, but he was conscious. I have been thinking about this. The Admiral turned to him. You nearly died, Velthorax. They attacked you. No, Velthorax said slowly. They shared their culture, just like we shared ours. What do you mean? We tried to poison them with Kethmiran, but they didn't die. Instead, they enjoyed it. They asked for more. The room was silent. Now we eat their food and we nearly die. But they eat it every day. To them, it's normal. Admiral Korathak frowned. Are you saying they didn't attack us? I'm saying we're both too dangerous for each other to fight, Velthorax replied. Think about it. We have poisons that don't work on them. They have food that works like poison on us. If we go to war, nobody wins. Back in the medical lab, Scythara was showing Park something amazing. Look at this, she said, pointing to a screen. When I mix human saliva with Velthari food, the food becomes safe for us to eat. Really? Your mouth bacteria break down the compounds that hurt us. And when I mix Velthari stomach acid with human food, it becomes much milder. Park stared at the screen. So we could actually help each other? Yes. Your biology could make our food safer. Our biology could make your food less extreme. This is incredible. We need to tell the others. Just then alarms started blaring again, but this time they sounded different. Not like war alarms, but like emergency meetings. Scythara checked her communication device. Admiral Korathak wants to see all of you. Now. Are we in more trouble? I don't think so, Scythara said with what might have been a smile. I think They're starting to understand. As they walked through the corridors toward the command center, Park noticed that the soldiers looked different, less angry, more curious. Some of them were even looking at the humans with what seemed like respect. "What changed?" she asked Scythara. "Word is spreading," the alien healer replied. "Everyone knows now that humans drank pure Kethmiran and asked, for seconds. Nobody has ever done that before. And that's good? In Velthari culture, surviving our deadliest poison makes you worthy of great respect. But enjoying it, that makes you legendary." Park smiled. Maybe this disaster could be turned into something better after all. When they reached the command center, Admiral Korthak was waiting with Velthorax, who was still weak but standing. The alien leader looked at Kim with his big yellow eyes. "Captain Kim," he said formally, "we need to talk." The command center was huge, with screens showing star maps and ship positions. Admiral Korthak stood at the center, his arms crossed. Around him were dozens of Velthari officers, all watching the humans carefully. Captain Kim stepped forward. "Admiral, I hope we can work this out peacefully." "Peacefully?" Korthak laughed, but it wasn't a mean laugh. "Captain Kim, do you understand what you and your people have done?" Kim looked around nervously. "We shared our food. You drank pure death serpent venom and asked for more. You fed us food so dangerous it put our leaders in the medical bay. And you did it all with smiles on your faces. We didn't mean to hurt anyone." "That's what makes it so impressive," Velthorax said weakly. "In our culture, strength is everything. But you showed a kind of strength we've never seen before." "Doctor," Park stepped up next to Kim. "We've learned something important. Our species are dangerous to each other, but not in the way we expected." "Explain," Admiral Korthak said. "Your poisons don't work on us because we've spent thousands of years eating dangerous things. Our food hurts you because your bodies never had to adapt to those challenges." Healer Sithara nodded. "I've studied their biology. Humans can process toxins in ways we cannot. But we can create antidotes and medicines they cannot." "What are you suggesting?" the Admiral asked. "Partnership," Kim said simply. "We have different strengths. Maybe we can help each other instead of fighting." Velthorax managed a weak smile. "The humans are right. We tried to kill them with our deadliest weapon, and they complemented the flavor. They nearly killed us with their lunch, and they were worried about our health." "Commander," Lee stepped forward. "In human culture we have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Maybe our species can make each other stronger." Chef Minho raised his hand. "I have an idea. What if I could make Korean food that's safe for Veltari to eat? And maybe you could show me how to make Kethmiran that humans can enjoy without it being deadly poison for everyone else." The aliens looked at each other. This was not how they had expected this meeting to go. "You want to cook together?" Toxin Master Kelthun asked. He had arrived during the meeting, still looking pale but alive. "Why not?" Minho said. "Food brings people together. Maybe it can bring species together too." Dr. Choi nodded. "And we could work on better translation systems, help prevent misunderstandings like this in the future." "What would the Velthari Empire gain from this partnership?" Admiral Korthak asked. Park pulled out her notes from the medical lab. "Access to human biochemistry research. We could help you create better medicines, safer ways to handle toxins, maybe even help other species survive your traditional ceremonies. And you could help us understand alien biology," she continued. "Your knowledge of poisons and antidotes could revolutionize human medicine." Velthorax stood up straighter, looking stronger. "There's something else. For the first time in our history, we've met a species that our traditional weapons cannot defeat, not because they have better technology, but because they're naturally immune." "That's frightening," admitted Warcast Zorthek, who had just joined the group. "But also reassuring," Kim said. "It means neither of us has to be afraid of the other. We're too tough for you to poison, and you're too smart for us to accidentally hurt with our food. Once we understand each other better," he added with a smile. Admiral Korthak was quiet for a long moment. This is not how the Velthari Empire usually handles first contact. "Maybe it's time for a new way," Velthorax suggested. These humans have shown us that there are different kinds of strength. Maybe we can learn from them. And we can learn from you, Kim said. Your technology, your knowledge of space, your understanding of other species. Humans have a lot to learn. Saithara stepped forward. I propose a trial period, a cultural and scientific exchange. We share knowledge, learn from each other, see if partnership is possible. How long? Asked the Admiral. 6 months, Kim suggested, long enough to really understand each other. And if it doesn't work? Then we go our separate ways. No hard feelings, no war. We're just too different to be allies. The Admiral looked around the room at his officers. Some nodded, others looked uncertain. Finally, he looked back at the humans. Very well, 6 months, but there will be rules. Of course, Kim agreed. No more surprise food sharing without medical supervision, the Admiral said firmly. Minho laughed. Agreed, and maybe no more surprise poison ceremonies either. Velthorax looked embarrassed. That is fair. We'll need scientists from both sides working together, Park added, sharing everything we learn. And cultural experts, Choi said, to help prevent more misunderstandings. And maybe some military advisors, Lee suggested, to help both sides understand each other's combat capabilities, for defensive purposes only. Agreed, said Admiral Korthak. But I have one condition. What's that? Kim asked. The Admiral's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. I want to try this soju drink of yours. Under medical supervision, of course. The room erupted in laughter. Human laughter mixed with the hissing sounds that Velthari made when they were amused. 3 months later, the cultural exchange station was bustling with activity. Humans and Velthari worked side by side in laboratories and kitchens. The translation systems had been improved greatly, and misunderstandings were becoming rare. In the main kitchen, Chef Minho worked with Toxin Master Kelthun to create fusion dishes that both species could enjoy. They had developed a mild version of kimchi that gave Velthari a pleasant warming sensation without making them sick. In return, Kelthun had created a diluted kethmarin that humans could drink like wine. Dr. Park and healer Saithara had made breakthrough discoveries in biochemistry. Their research on human toxin resistance was already leading to new medical treatments for both species. Commander Lee and Warcast Zurthek had become unlikely friends, sharing combat techniques and tactical knowledge. They had developed new training methods that combined human adaptability with Velthari precision. Dr. Choi's translation work had been so successful that other alien species were asking for her help with their own communication problems. Captain, Kim stood in the observation deck, watching humans and Velthari eating together in the station's dining hall. Some were trying each other's foods carefully. Others were laughing at their reactions to particularly challenging dishes. High Arbiter Velthorax joined him at the window. The alien leader looked much healthier now, though he still avoided the spicier human foods. Your people continue to surprise us, Velthorax said. Your people surprise us too, Kim replied. In good ways. Do you think this partnership will last beyond the trial period? Kim watched as a young Velthari scientist successfully ate a small piece of mild kimchi, while her human colleague cheered her on. I think we're just getting started, he said. Below them, Chef Minho was serving his latest creation, a Korean Velthari fusion soup that both species could enjoy. The dining hall filled with the sounds of satisfaction and friendship. You know what's funny? Kim said to Velthorax. What? You tried to poison us to see if we were worthy of joining your empire, but in the end we all joined something bigger than either of our empires. What's that? Kim smiled. Each other. Outside the station, ships from both species patrolled together. Inside, scientists and chefs and soldiers and diplomats worked side by side. And in the dining hall, humans and Velthari shared meals and stories and laughter. The universe had become a little bit smaller, and a lot more interesting. The day when aliens thought they had poisoned humans, but the humans just asked for seconds, had become the day two species learned that the best partnerships are built not on fear or conquest, but on mutual respect and really good food.